Today's event is not about individual women, but about an issue, the issue of childcare, an issue absolutely central to working families and especially to working women, since women are still primary caretakers of children and because there are so many women who are single parents. As a nation, we currently do not have childcare on the front burner. We believe it belongs there for the sake of the children, for the sake of the people working in the field, and because it has such a profound impact on employment, especially women's employment. Now let me introduce Barbara Spiegel, president of the Chicago branch of the American Association of University Women, otherwise known as AAUW. We have partnered with them on programs for the past several years, and it has been a very happy association for us. Barbara.
Since so many of you are here who probably don't know what AAUW is, I'd just like to take a couple minutes to explain it a little bit. The American Association of University Women, which is now called AAUW, was founded in 1881 and has a long and distinguished history of advancing educational and professional opportunities for women in the United States and around the globe. It is one of the world's largest sources of funding for graduate women, each year awarding over $4 million in fellowships and grants. AAUW's mission is to advance equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, and research. Membership is open to anyone holding an associate, baccalaureate, or higher degree from a regionally accredited college or university. AAUW's published research reports, which vary and have such topics as girls and boys in science and math, gender pay equity, community colleges, and bullying in the schools, are the go-to sources for educators, news media, and publications all over the country. Whenever one comes out, they are immediately deluged, AAUW. It has a wonderful website where you can get all kinds of information on women's issues. The Chicago Inc., which is our official name, branch, often partners with other organizations to broaden our understanding and knowledge on issues of interest to all groups. This presentation, as Jackie said, is one that we have done with their organization several times. And on behalf of Chicago Inc. branch of AAUW, I would like to welcome all of you again to today's program.
And now just a brief introduction to our moderator. Amy Lakin joined Working Women's History Project about 3 years ago. She has been devoted to progressive causes for many years, I think most of her life. She currently serves as secretary of the organization, is a wonderful organizer and editor, and today she's moderating our panel. Amy.
First, we're going to be hearing from Arlene Prairie. Arlene Prairie is a retired teacher who taught for 25 years at the Chicago City Colleges. She taught early childhood education, and her particular focus has been on preschool education and infant and toddler care. For the past 3 years, she has been focused on coaching Head Start teachers in their endeavors to provide a really good structure and educational environment for children in their care. She's the author and co-author of 2 books that you will see listed in the program here. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Arlene Prairie.
Thank you. It's good to be here on this wintry day. And I want to thank the panel to join us today to be part of this presentation on childcare in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to hearing you speak and hearing your stories. And I'm sure all of you are as well from this group from Guadalupano. So we're working on this presentation. I was meeting here, and I was taken aback with a lot of strong feelings because 1 block north was Chase House, a child care center, and that was the first place that I was a preschool teacher in Chicago. And really, the time goes so fast. It was about 50 years ago. And it's really different in this neighborhood now. Because when I would come to work and walk up the stairs to my classroom, the back windows faced the alley to the east, I would hear the roosters crow. And if you drove by Jackson, you know it's not the same kind of neighborhood anymore. Our families came from the near west side. They came from the far south side. And I'm thinking now that the reason that they drove so far to bring their children to Chase House was because they were looking for quality care for their children. And that's what we're still interested in today. But I wanted to share with you, I dug up some information about what was happening in 1967 in Chicago. There were about 100 licensed daycare centers in Chicago. There were 55 Head Start programs, because Head Start had started the year before. And there were over 100 family daycare centers, family child care centers that they are usually a woman who decides to go into business for herself, and she gets licensed by the state, and so that she can care for around 6 children. And that was going on in 1967 as well as it is today. I think there's 23,000 family daycare homes now in Chicago. So today there are over 80,000 children in child care in Chicago. And this is within 800 programs. And these are several different types. One is the Head Start programs, which can be in Chicago Public Schools or can be in an agency such as Guadalupano. Or they could be preschool for all programs, which many of them are in the public schools. But still, some of these could also be funding the agency programs. And then there are private licensed daycare centers as well. And so that takes in a lot. Our 80,000 children is a lot as compared to 50 years ago. So I wanted to take some views in the short time I have with you today. And that one is to look at the parents' view. One is to look at the teacher's view, and to look at what the children gain from the different kinds of programs. So first we're going to go to the parents' view. And I have 2 hypothetical families they're completely made up, that I want to give you the idea of how much this is going to cost. This family, the Smith family, has a 6-month-old baby. And the mother decides she needs to return to work so that they can make ends meet and pay the bills. And their combined income would be $40,000. Mrs. Smith finds a quality child care center for her infant, and infant care is more expensive than children older than that, than the infancy. But their cost would be for that family would be $12,000 a year for infant care, or about $1,000 a month. The second example is the Jones family. And the family consists of a single mother and a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And annual income for this family is $25,000. Since this family qualifies for the Illinois Child Care Assistance Program, which, by the way, is a very wonderful program that we have in Illinois to help families afford child care. Mrs. Jones' copay for child care is $120 a month, or $1,500 a year for her 2 children. Now, I think you would join with me in seeing that it would be a difficult thing for both these families to be able to budget childcare expenses. Actually, we have some help from some budgeting guidelines, and they suggest allocating 10% of the family budget for childcare. Now, this means that the Smith family would pay 30% of their annual budget for the infant care, and the Jones family would pay 6% for their 2 children in care. So that's what the families, one of the big families, things the family family faces is how are we going to afford child care for our children. But there are some other choices. About 1/3 of the care of our children in the city of Chicago is through the Child Care Center. Another third is through grandparent care. And then the other third is broken up into several things. One is care in a child's home, and the other is family besides the grandparents, friends, and neighbors. And the other is family child care homes. So those make up the other third. Now one can ask, what makes this high cost of child care? What are we paying for in this? Basically, we're paying for the salaries of the teachers and the child care providers. In some instances, it says up to 80% of the budget of a center. And maybe, I don't know if you know what that is off the top of your head, but it is a lot. So now that we've got into teacher salaries, let's go take the teacher's view. If the person is working in Head Start or a Preschool for All funded program in one of the agencies in Chicago, the teacher has to have a 4-year degree, early childhood education with certification, and her salary is $40,000. And the teacher assistant who may have a bachelor's degree in that class for teaching young children, or may have a 2-year degree in child development, her annual salary is $21,000 to $25,000. Other teacher salaries in other types of programs, they earn from $23,000 to $26,000. That's $11 an hour to $12.50 per hour. And if that woman is the head of a family of 4, she's under the range of poverty level. So this is what we're looking at for what our teachers do. And we know teachers work hard to be able to manage that job that they have. The other element is the family child care providers. And they are working often 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Their annual salary is $25,000 to $35,000. I've looked at one figure and it says that works out to about $4.35 an hour for these women who care for these children in the home. But let's look at the child's experience. The question is quality care. What is it? What makes the quality for a young child? There needs to be a close, consistent relationship, the teacher and child, and in a stimulating environment. Again, with the close, consistent relationship, a nurturing relationship with the teacher or caregivers. That's especially for our infants and very young children. That really has to be there. There are things that must go on, and one of the things that happens in a quality child care program is that there's a lot of communication of ideas. Teachers and children among children, that children have the opportunity to create in all kinds of ways, that they can explore with things in their environment, such as the earthworm, that they can make things work, figure out how things happen, and use math in all they're creating, whether it's lining up animals 2 by 2 or creating with different shapes in blocks. So this is what we need to have. We need to have lots of teacher and child talk, working together one-on-one. And I also want to say literature needs to be a part of what's going on in that program, and working with words in print and just all the kinds of discussions that go on that expand language. We know that this quality program, that all children deserve an excellent early child care and education. We also know that, out of research, that the high quality early experiences make a difference in children's lifelong academic and social success. These are 2 statements from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and it's called A Call for Excellence in Early Childhood Care and Education. So now I'm going to pass this along.
Thanks so much for your presentation, Arlene. Okay, our next panelist is Shannon Kimmel. She has been with Chicago Commons for 20 years and is presently the site education coordinator for Chicago Commons Guadalupano Family Center in Pilsen. Starting out at Chicago Commons, she began first as a head teacher in the Head Start program, then progressed to family worker / assistant director, then infant toddler coordinator, and now, as I said, her title is coordinator / assistant director at Guadalupano Family Center. So, without further ado, here is Shannon Kimmel.
Chicago Commons was founded by Graham Taylor in 1849. It was one of the original settlement houses, served primarily immigrants on the city's northwest side. It opened one of the city's earliest kindergarten in 97, and in 1993, the Child Development Program began exploring the Reggio Emilia approach to educating young children. A little bit of background of Reggio. Following World War II, the working class parents from the villages surrounding Reggio Emilia, Italy, which is in the center northern part of Italy, demanded an improvement to teaching their young children. So together with Loris Maraguzzi, they created a program based on the principles of respect, responsibilities, and community through exploration and discovery in supportive and enriching environment guided by the interests of children. So these are some of the elements of the Reggio Emilia approach that Chicago Commons has adapted into their program. The image of the child, the role of the environment, language and representation, documentation, emergent curriculum, parent partnership, collaboration, professional development. These elements were adapted because they supported learning through problem solving, creative thinking, and exploration in a way that it is meaningful to children and encourage them to think their own answers. And the 3 areas I really want to focus on today is professional development, parent partnership, and collaboration. So currently we have 5 sites. The Nia Family Center, which is in the Humboldt Park area. Taylor Center for New Experiences, That's also north of the Humboldt Park area, West Humboldt Park. Guadalupano Family Center, which is south of here in the Pilsen area. Polo Ferry Family Center, which is 43rd and Ashland, towards the back of the yards area. And we have a partnership with the city, and we dubbed that New City Community Partners Program. We oversee child care centers throughout the city, helping them bring their program together, helping them with their policies and procedures, helping with teacher-child interactions, So we're kind of like the guiding force for the centers that would like assistance. So the history of Guadalupano. The parish church closed down in 1990, and the Resurrection Project, which we dubbed TRP, acquired the building for $10. In cooperation with Karen Haig, who at that time was over our child development program, seeing all the sites, Sister Lupe and the Resurrection Project community group, they met on plans for the building. What's the next stop? Karen Haig was brought in because earlier Resurrection Project helped us with 2 of our buildings, the Nia Family Center in West Humboldt Park and the Paulo Freire Center. Both of those centers were built from the ground up with the Reggio Emilia approach in mind. A lot of planning was done to make it very open, very friendly, a lot of lighting, a lot of natural wood. And because they had that relationship already established with Karen Haig, she was brought into this project for the discussion on plans for the building. So it was decided that it would be a child care center, perfect for us, and the parishioners voted on the name of the new center, Guadalupano. Local area artists and youth from the community painted murals around the building. Pilsen is very well known for its murals, and so it was only right that the culture of the community was a part of the new center. So we had a grand opening in January 10th of 1995, and it has grown over the years. Right now we have 2 two-year-old classrooms, 4, let me break that down a little more, 3 preschool for all classrooms, 3 to 5-year-olds, full day, 1 full day Head Start program, 1 half a day Head Start program, and 3 after school program classrooms. And this is some images of certain parts of our center, classrooms, hallways. And you can see the influence of Reggio with the natural wood and the lighting. So let's talk about professional development. There's a lot of changes for childcare centers throughout the state, especially in Chicago. Arlene touched on a lot of things that are happening now. Some are good, some are bad. It's how you look at it. But for us to keep abreast of the changes, we have to do more. We have to ask our teachers to do more. The requirements have changed. Degrees are very important. Growth is very important. And so at Chicago Commons, we try to ensure that professional development is a key point of what we do. We have class now, an observational tool where when the federal review comes, which is happening this year, they're going to use that tool to observe our teaching teams, to observe the child-adult interactions. And so we need to then help our teachers understand and support them. So when that happens, they can understand what they do naturally already now is what they're looking for. We have a tendency when people come to visit us, our visitors, that we get tense and uptight and then we worry about what we're doing. If we just relax and do what we normally do, we'll be fine. And so it is my role to help them relax and realize that what they're doing is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So to do that, we have to meet a lot, provide that training, provide the opportunities for them to grow. So we have in-house meetings, Chicago Commons itself. Agency-wise, We have a meeting once a month with our head teachers and assistant teachers. In-house at site level, I have training sessions as well as the directors with the teachers on what we feel through observations, through communications with our teachers, through surveys of what they would like more support in and how they would like that support. So we go to in-house, we have in-services 3 times a year. We go to other trainings, we go to conferences, city, state, other states, and even other countries. Our staff have been to Canada, Italy, Mexico, and this past February, I was very privileged to be chosen to go to New Zealand and study the Maori culture and how it merged with the early childhood curriculum in New Zealand, and it was awesome. Parent partnership. We try to build very strong relationships with our parents. We recognize that the parent is the first teacher, and some of the ways that we do this is constant communication. Parents are involved in our parent policy committee. We have a school readiness committee where we invite our parents to, along with our staff, to be a part of, so we make goals and strategies of how to incorporate school readiness within our program. We have home visits. We have continuous exchange of ideas. We have site parent meetings monthly. We also do surveys to find out where the parents' thoughts and ideas are. We have quarterly Regio meetings, and we go to different sites. So we bus our parents to the different sites so they can sit and have a part of our conversation of the future of the children, what they see as learning, how they can take that learning home with them, how can we be better partners with the growth of their children, and also be prepared for school when they turn 5 and go to the really big school. Collaboration. We do collaboration in a lot of ways with children and teachers, parents, our community. The site director is on like 4 committees that are based in the community. We have an enrichment program from our center. I have a head teacher, type 4 teacher, and assistant teacher that goes over to the neighborhood community school, Cooper, and they 3 times a week conduct a preschool classroom for the Cooper Elementary School. It's another way of us getting to know what their requirements and expectations are, and it's another way of having them find out what we do and how we do it and how we merge different components together to be successful. We are also have a lot of documentation throughout our hallways for our parents and visitors to discuss with them how learning takes place, how our children are involved in the environment with parent-teacher relationship, teacher-child relationship, and even administrative staff. And we have a very strong administrative staff with the family workers. They're very much in tune to our parents as well as our teachers, which is a good thing. We document the process through photographs, videos, children's words, and the parents' words. And these are just a reminder what we stand for. Our important factor is our families and the children that we serve, as well as our staff. A few more images. Expanding on ideas and theories. They were exploring paint and discussing different artists, past and present, and then the children were challenged to pick their favorite painting and make their own representation of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shannon, for the presentation. Next up is Orsalia Gomez, who started working at the Guadalupano Family Center as a receptionist in 2000. She wanted to further both her career and education, so she went back to school, earned an associate degree in child development, and has been a family worker at the center for about 7 years. She enrolls families there, and I'm sure she's going to talk more about exactly what she does. Here is Orsalia Gomez.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Orsalia Gomez. I've been working with Chicago Commons for 14 years. I started working as a receptionist, and I like the field. I like working with kids. At the same time, when I started working, my kids were in that program. So I was a working parent at my job. Because I like the field, reading the children in the morning was part of my job. I decided to go back and get my associate degree in child development, which I like. After a while, I applied for a family worker. That's another field, helping parents, getting involved with the community. Let me tell you about what family workers do at Guadalupano at Chicago Commons. One of the things we do is go around the community, offering our quality center, offering our quality daycare that we have. We go out to the clinics, businesses, hospitals, and around the neighborhood. Sometimes we go door by door together with teachers. When we go out, the teachers speak about the quality of our centers, and we as a family worker, we talk to them to see if they qualify for the program. It's, like she said, it's hard now because Chicago has too many daycares, too many programs around, so you're in a continuous competence with the city, and you want to keep your program fully enrolled. And Chicago Commons has, the city has the scale based on the income of the family to qualify for the families. And every year is hard and harder for a working parent, like for children with low income to qualify for these centers. We try to help them as much as possible, to guide them and talk to them and see what can we help with, what can we help the families. Once you enroll the family, we have a system. We do an assessment. It's based on together in COPA with FSS. It's a series of questions. It's like an assessment overall of the family, and then you try to find out what are the family needs. What can we help them with? If the parent has income in the family, how much it makes, what are their necessities if she has trouble, like finding other schools for their other children, based, not only the one that she's going to enroll with me. We try to help her find another school close to our daycare. Another thing that we do is refer families to the cooperative agencies. We go around the community with the clinics and dentists to do partnerships. So if, like in case a family cannot, for any reason cannot pay for physical or dental, Chicago Commons, Guadalupano, they pay for the dental and the physical if the mom has no income. Another thing that we do is coordinate meetings, parent meetings. Parent meetings is one of the main things that we need to do with parents. Based on the necessity, doing some workshops. There are some mandatory workshops that we need to provide for the families, like the child development workshop, like the, stay with me. Child development is one. I cannot remember. I'm very nervous, so bear with me. So another thing that we do is coordinate meetings together with the family, the teacher, and me and the director, the coordinator. Once the child, especially when the child has like, we do the screenings, which is the exams that everybody does. If after the child didn't pass the screening, we refer the child to the public schools in order to find out what the necessities of the child needs. Sometimes the child cannot speak like clear. Sometimes the child is already 3 years and they cannot pronounce 2-word sentences. That's where we, the family workers, plan together with director, coordinator, teacher, and family worker to refer the family. That, to me, that's one of my hardest job to do. That's part of my job, to talk to the family about that the child needs extra services, extra help, and she needs it, and we cannot provide that. It needs to go through the CPS schools. Not a lot of parents are agree to have those services because they think that the child is going to be labeled. And that's hard to do. That's one of my hardest jobs to do. Explain the parent, talk to the parent, and explain to the child needs extra help. And she needs to be ready when she goes to public schools. Another hard job for me to do is talk to the parents about health. That's one of the hardest things to talk. It's a very touch feeling for the parent when the child is overweight. That's we need a health plan from the doctor, a special diet or some specific exercise or things that we need to work together and follow up us as a daycare together with the family and the doctor. That's very hard to talk to the parent and explain to them that the child needs to lose some weight. Overall, that's mainly my job. Like I said, my hardest job is talk to the families about health, about the IEPs, and completing also another thing is home visits. When we do the home visits, we talk to the parents about the necessities that they have, like if they have any special child or somebody in the family that has special needs, like transportation or things like that, we try to help them too. And besides all those jobs and things that we need, that we do, is to maintain the records. It's a lot of work. Just with one child is like 4 to 5 folders that we need to put together, which is a lot. And basically, that's part of my job, do the social service as a family worker. Thank you.
Thanks to Orsalia for that. Our next panelist is Lorraine Baena. Lorraine is a mom of one child at the Chicago Commons Guadalupano Family Center who's enrolled there. She herself works at another child care center and has been in the field for 10 years in the field of early childhood education. She's active in all of her children's education. And recently she went to leadership training in Sacramento, California. And with this training, she'll assist other parents with helping with their children, their families, and the community. So here is Lorraine Baena.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here. To Shannon for inviting me to come and speak. So I have my daughter at Guadalupano Family Center, and I also have another child, a 13-year-old son. Guadalupano came into my life at a very desperate time when I was looking for childcare for my daughter. Because I'm a daycare worker myself, I was taking my daughter to work with me But then it just became too much financially for me to bear, and it was either, quit my job and stay home and become solely dependent on public aid, or find another outlet as far as childcare is concerned. So I needed daycare for my daughter because I have to work. I had two children to support, and like I said, my daughter was in daycare from infancy because I took her to work with me up until the time she started at Guadalupano. And I had pulled her out a couple of times in the past from daycare, and she stayed with a family member for those times, but it started becoming an issue that we noticed that she wasn't progressing anymore, and she even started to revert instead of move forward in her literacy. So it just wasn't an option for her. She wasn't able to stay home with anybody. So she was around 2 when she started at Guadalupano Family Center, and now she's just turned 5 years old, and she loves school. She looks forward to going to school every day and seeing her friends and her teachers. In looking for a daycare center for my daughter, the most important thing for me was that the center provide an engaging and a welcoming environment. And being that I've worked in different childcare centers here in the city, I've worked at centers that were very bad as far as quality is concerned, and all of the centers that I've worked at have been privately owned, so people are paying. They don't take the Daycare Action Childcare Initiative. These are like full rate centers, and I've worked at good ones and bad ones, so I definitely have had some experience as far as what quality care is. And I wanted my daughter to feel like she was at home when she was at her school, because in reality, children go to school and that is their home away from home, where they spend, half of their time. So that was very important to me. And also safety was also a concern. I didn't want to leave her in somebody's hands that I felt like I couldn't trust. It was important for me to see, the classroom setup and things like that, and make sure that everything was at the child's level, and that it was a open environment for the children to decide what kind of activities they wanted to do. Cost obviously was a huge factor for me, and they say that quality comes at a price, and it was easy for me to find other daycare centers that were affordable, but they simply didn't measure up to the quality care that I knew was available. And at Guadalupano Family Center, I found that the staff and the teachers are very friendly. The teachers are always doing a good job at keeping me informed and communicating with me any concerns and the progress of my child. And in addition, the center strives to gain and maintain parent involvement with their child's education, and then their own education, as far as helping their child to progress and move forward in their education. I think that you know when a center is good when your child is excited about school, and they look forward to attending school every day. So right away, even though she did have a hard time when she first started, the first couple of weeks, after a month, she couldn't wait to go to school every day. So I knew just from that it was a great place for her to be. And of course, it was very difficult for me to leave my daughter just at any daycare center, and I had to deal with the guilt of leaving my child in somebody else's care, and then having to go to a job where I care for other people's children. But Guadalupano Family Center has really welcomed us into their family, because that's really what they are. And I'm sorry. And just they always have the doors of communication open, and they've been really great about helping me to in my own self-improvement, and encouraging me to continue my own education in order to help my kids get the best quality education that they can. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine, for that, and thanks to all of our panel participants today. We can move directly into the question and answer period now. I would like to respectfully request that people make their questions fairly short to maximize the level of participation for as many people as possible, and to please use the microphone. Yo puedo decir algo en español. Si alguien desea hacer una pregunta en español, yo le puedo traducir. Pero yo hablo español de idioma segundo. Entonces es posible que yo no vaya a saber cualquier palabra en cualquier pregunta. Si alguien me pueda ayudar, por favor, hágalo, y yo le agradecería mucho. I just said that anyone wants to ask a question. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Is there a microphone? Barbara has the microphone going.
Yes, I have the first one. I would like to thank all the panelists. And the question I have is, other than the licensing that a daycare center has to have, is that better? What other kind of inspections or regulations that they have to follow? I mean, is it done like a yearly inspection or whatever?
You know, our director's right behind you. Oh. I didn't realize it.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Esmeralda Arroyo, and I'm the site director for Chicago Commons Guadalupano Family Center. And I'm going to answer your question, of course. We are NACI accredited, and we are in the process of renewing our accreditation. We have to meet the standards. Also, National Accreditation for Early Childhood Education. That's the NACI. That's why NACI stands for. And that if you get those accreditation, that means that you're providing quality services in all the areas. In regards to parents, partnership quality, the professional development for staff, facilities, safety, all the areas that safety and meeting all the standards. Also, we have a license, a state license, so we get inspected every year. It can be visits unexpected, it can be a planned visit, but our city inspectors come every year to inspect our centers to make sure that we have the facilities in great conditions and the safety for the children. And also we have an excellent monitoring system on site and agency-wide. We monitor every day the classrooms to ensure quality and safety, and we do monitoring weekly and monthly to make sure that we're providing quality services for our families and our children. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, anybody else? Back there.
Good afternoon. My name is Mars, and I'm a single parent, divorced mom. of an 11-year-old, and I'm a former preschool teacher. I was the lead Head Start teacher at the Head Start that is up the street or on Madison, 1 North Ogden. I was the first teacher to open that site and their assistant director. And I've worked at a few different Head Starts and state pre-Ks around the city. And I can't get a job teaching. The reason that I can't get a job teaching with 25 years of experience as a preschool teacher, well-schooled in the Reggio Emilia approach, some of which I studied at Chicago Commons under Karen Haig, is because my child does not have daycare in order to provide me enough hours. I've been unable to find any sort of school that will hire a working mother who only has 7 hours a day to work. Many children, of course, they go to...
Excuse me, can you get to a question, please?
Most of the families that that need to work longer than the public school system day can go to an after-school program. My son has special needs. There are not many programs that can handle special needs children. And so I just wanted to raise that this is one of the challenges for when children leave the 5-year-old kind of umbrella. For as working parents, we usually can find daycare for our children at that age, and yes, we can access things like the Illinois Action for Children. But once they hit CPS, it gets extremely difficult if they have any kind of special needs and they cannot be serviced by traditional after-school programs that are run by, 20-year-olds or 19-year-olds who have no early childhood background.
Question, please. Oh, it's just a comment.
I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that. It's a difficult situation.
It is.
Are there any, we heard the problem. It's obviously real. Anyone who can comment on that? It may just stand. Yes.
That's why we have non-traditional daycares and daycare homes that will accommodate you. A lot of daycare homes stay open to 12 midnight. And if you are good enough to find one that will transport your child to and from school, then you're okay. You can go to work in peace without being able to be stressed to say, I'm limited time. Of course, they're not going to hire you because you already had in your mindset that this is the amount of hours that I need to work. But if you really need a job, find a daycare home that will assist you in your child's, even to transporting back and forth to school. So on those times that you have to work late, there's not a problem with picking your child up or feeding them dinner when you need to. Yes, I can help you afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Anybody else? Oh, Helen.
Okay, I'm Helen Ramirez O'Dell and part of Working Women's History Project. And when I'm registering people, I don't think this came up. The work that you do needs to be valued so much more than it is. We give a lot of lip service value to what you do, but everybody in this room really appreciates your work. And I think of places like France, where child care and early childhood education is funded for people. It's truly appreciated. And when I go to political meetings, this is a major issue for working women. We need our government to provide more funding for child care and child education, not just for the poorest, but for those who are more middle class. It is truly a struggle, as you all know. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on this? What ideas you have? What can we do to promote this to make it more of a reality?
Anybody want to
respond to this?
like to respond with what's going on in our nation now. And one of these is universal preschool that's being put in place. The idea is put in place by our president. I just read an article from Seattle, and in their Congress they're trying to get a universal preschool for all children in Seattle. And I think this basically would be in the public school. And what is being proposed is to have a $45,000 cutoff for the family income. Below that, the childcare, the preschool would be free. Above that, they would pay a sliding scale. So the kind of figures I gave, turns it around to a whole different picture. And I want us to let you know also that this isn't all daycare. This is, as far as I know, this is a half-day preschool. And I came across a Christine Robinson quote from the Illinois Action for Children saying that we want to make sure that children in all care settings have access to quality care. And if a child is in a type of informal setting, such as the grandparent care, that they have the opportunity to attempt some kind of high-quality early learning in some way, shape, or form. Now, we know that there are centers like Guadalupano who are giving quality care in our city in one area. There are different kinds of agencies who do this all over the city, and some of them for over 100 years. But that doesn't meet the need. There's all other kinds of care, such as the family child care homes. And if we would tie that up with a half-day preschool, universal preschool for all children, then I think we would be coming closer to meeting our need.
Back there?
This is to some of the answer for the question that Helen had posed, the importance of increasing funding. And we're here today with SEIU because we're supporting a bill that is being implemented for a strong start for preschool from 0 to 3 and from 3 to 5 to increase funding for the access to the child care centers and home child care, also for the workers. It has not been completed yet, but that's why we're at this table with the cards that say strong start, because as Helen mentioned, all of our children need a quality child care. Everybody, no one is exempt. All of our children are our kings and queens or our charms and gems to us. And so we're asking that we start supporting from the ground up, and eventually we'll get this bill passed. Thank you. SEIU is Service Education International Union, and we support all of those in service, home care, child care, and our move is to get everybody united so that we all can do better for ourselves. Please fill out our cards today. We're here to help everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else? I'd actually like to make a couple of announcements. One, actually this is one announcement. If people want to know more about childcare issues, relatively recently in Oklahoma, they've established some sort of statewide pre-child care program, which is, Oklahoma is a fairly conservative state, and somehow they were able to do that. I don't know much more about the quality of it. People may want to Google it and find out for themselves. Also, expounding on what Helen raised in terms of France, there is an expatriate author named Pamela Druckerman who has lived in Paris for many years. And initially, when she had children, she poo-pooed the idea of enrolling them in what I think is called the crèche system, their child care system in France. She ultimately had a good experience with it, and has written extensively about it, including a book, Bringing Up Bébé. Her last name is Druckerman, in case people want to Google.
I have a question for Salia. Can you hear me okay? I'm fascinated by your position, which is that in-between position. It sounds like you do assessment, you give good and bad news, you go out and get people in. It's a very complex position. And I wonder if you could tell one story of, hey, I did this and this worked out, or, you know, we worked hard at this and you know what, didn't work. Somehow it becomes, I could tell the complexity, but I think a short story might illustrate that. Sure. And you could actually just speak.
One of the stories that I have succeed is, like I said, talking to a parent about the child has special needs is a very touching part of the parent. Not everybody wants to do it. They think that the child is going to be labeled. And some other things they think. I have this mom, she didn't want to get the services for the child because the sisters told her, you know what, there's something going on with the family. Our kids, they don't speak until they reach 6 or 7 years. Your son is going to be labeled, so don't put him in the public schools. He's going to get this name, like dumb, something. And my job was to talk to her, convince her. And the way I talked to her and I explained to her, just put yourself in the shoes of your child when he goes to public schools and he doesn't speak. He doesn't know how to express himself or explain to you what the other children did to him. That was one of the hardest parts for me to do. Also, part of my work is to go with the family for the evaluation with the IEP. When we went to do the IEP, the speech pathologist, she used the word, it's because your child is below the range of scale of intelligence, something like that, the intelligence part. I saw the mom, she got very upset, very, very upset. When we went out, when we finished the meeting, she goes, see, that's why I didn't want to put my son in this special needs place that you're telling me. Did you see the word that the speech pathologist used? Below the intelligence range. And I said, well, there's something we can talk about it. Probably she was nervous. Probably she's not, she doesn't have experience talking to parents with something like that. But we're gonna figure it out, we're gonna talk about it. And when she went back to home, her sisters tell her the same thing. See, I told you not to put your child in this and this and that. Our family has the genes. That's part of our family. The kids they don't start speaking until the age 6 or 7. So we both talk about long talks about trying to convince the mom that the child needs the services because he couldn't do like 2-word sentence. By September, she called me and she goes, Orsalia, I've been paying attention closely to my child, and I agree. I decided to get the services. Someone else?
Oh, does anybody else want to ask a question?
Say something about how our families are struggling to pay the co-payments of
Lady Orsalia, you just mentioned that she has a really, really complicated position. They're the ones that qualify the families for the program. They're the ones that support the families to submit their applications to Action for Children. So they're the ones that follow with the parents to let them know about their co-payments. Because for a full day program, you know, the parents are to pay a co-payment if they qualify for the program. So we're seeing a high percentage of our families not being able to pay their co-payments. And you know that this is one of our struggles. It may be $30, it may be $100 for a single mom, 150. Can you imagine? For some of us, maybe $30 is not as much as for other families. For some of us, it may be a lot. But for a single mom, they has to plan a budget to pay their bills, their mortgage, or their rent, all their expenses that we have at home. We have had families, and she had one of these cases of a family that couldn't afford. It was a single mom. She couldn't afford to pay the co-payment. So she decided to take the child out of the full day program because she couldn't pay the co-payment. So she helped her. She assessed the family needs. Thankfully, we had a space open in our Half Day Head Start program. So we referred the child to the Half Day Head Start program, which is a free program. So then the mom she didn't have other relatives. She found an on-site babysitter. It was a little cheaper than she had to pay with our subsidized childcare program. So then she was struggling, but she was not paying at the daycare center the co-payment, but she was having a babysitter for the baby. Then she was already in the half-day program, and a few months later, it was a child abuse report that we have to make to the babysitter. Now, the mom had to decide and struggle and bring the child back to a full-day program. And struggle to make her co-payments, but then she learned it the hard way that our programs are quality and that's the best programs for the children to be. So this is another hard story and another challenges that our parents are facing, trying to find cheaper services for the children, but they're not quality, and that's not what there's the best for the children.
You know,
Well-
if I could just say something, those little inserts in your programs, I know people don't have time to look at those usually, but Working Women's History Project, with the help of other people who've come together, we are going to be starting a project of interviewing. I think these stories need to be out there. So we think if we interview a great number of people who would be people doing childcare, parents, some experts, that we can then take these interviews to people who make documentaries, radio programs, have journalists and that they might use this to get more national attention. So that's why that little thing is in your program, because what it's asking is, if you know somebody that you'd say, oh, it would be good to interview that person, give us, you don't have to give the other person's name, give us your name, we'll follow up, and you can ask the person, are they willing to be taped or not? We may not get a great many, but every opportunity we have, we'd like to ask them. All right, I guess we are closing up the program?
I guess so.
We are. Oh, yes, you have a microphone, so, well, maybe I'll close it up.
Oh.
Well, Amy was our panel moderator. We thank her. We thank our panelists. And we thank you all for asking the questions, giving information. It is a nice exchange. And if later on, after this event, you have thoughts about, well, we might want to communicate this or that, through our organizations and website, you can find us, and we'd love to hear from you. And so thank you so much for coming. I can tell you also, there's been a diligent crew putting together cake and cookie packages, as we have some left over. So if you would like to take some, and we would like to privilege at least the people from Guadalupano, but others, I'm sure there's more for others, please help yourselves, and thank you again.
What is your website?
Well, the website is on your program, www.hpchicago.org. Working Women's History Project, Chicago.org. Thank you.